Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com.
We're going to bring in the outstanding Mark Wogenrich from SI.com. Hello, Mark. How have you been?
Doing well, Steve. Thanks. I hate to be the guy on the opposite end of that.
That's right. To be honest with you, I opened the show and I said, geez, Mark, I don't really have a lot of answers for watching it. I mean, I didn't really know what to say, and I thought that was, on my part, an honest answer. Do you have something to add to it?
I told Matt when he gave me a ring up, he said, how's the reaction been from people you're interacting to? I said, they're still in the denial phase, I think, of this, kind of bridging between denial and anger. The only answer that I really would come up with is it's how very simple football ultimately is with regard to the quarterback position. If you have a good, strong, healthy quarterback who's fit, effective, and can make plays, you're in really good shape. If you have if you have a backup quarterback you feel comfortable with, who can do most of what your number one guy can do, you feel really good. And it just seems clear that Penn State was not in that position Saturday.
And I think the point I made was, look, football is also the kind of game, no matter what, even if you are a passing team where teams throw more than ever, winning up front also means pass protection. It's not just the running game. But on both lines of scrimmage, you still have to win there. Is that fair, Mark?
Oh, absolutely, most certainly, and it was clear that Penn State really wasn't winning on the offensive line, and their defensive line struggled, albeit against, that 13 lineman front that Illinois ran really effectively. As many guys as you put on that offensive line, you still have to be able to figure out a way at least to close some gaps and not have safeties and cornerbacks coming down to make a bunch of tackles 7-8 yards behind. Ultimately, this really begs down for me just offensively, because I can go back to the defense. As much as you want to say they gave up 357 rushing yards, which they did.
They gave up 10 points.
300, I think it was 13 plays of maybe 10-plus yards, 10-plus rushing yards. So those big gains, but Illinois got in the red zone twice. That I had to go back and look and say, is that really true? In regulation, red zone twice. That astonished me that you could run for that many yards. And that's testament to, again and again to what George Stout does in pinning guys back punting-wise. But they kept him out of scoring range, as many yards as they put out there. Kept him out of scoring range, delivered the ball to the offense inside the 25-yard line with an opportunity to score. Didn't come away with any points. Three turnovers, or 3 points off 3 turnovers, kept them out of the end zone in regulation or in overtime, the standard overtime periods. Defense did its job. As much as you build those yards, they did not break, and Penn State's offense broke. To me, that was pretty simple, and I wonder, whether what it would have looked like. With another quarterback in there, with a healthy quarterback in there. And that's just like one of the what-if questions that you ultimately come around asking after a game like that.
All right. Because, they gave up 10 points in the game.
Yeah.
And that was and that ends up being the bottom line. I thought Illinois did a great job in what they did by shortening the game. In other words, 36 and a half minutes, and they kept Penn State. They reduced Penn State's possessions in the game by how they played it.
Yeah, well, was it something like 11 possessions, 12 possessions, something in regulation?
11.
I mean, just
11.
didn't get just opportunity-wise. Yeah, that was one of the issues. But I still think that's a game with that style, the way Illinois is going to play, and the way Penn State did ultimately stop them. You needed 14 points. I think even going into that game, and I think probably a lot of people on the outside looked at it as like, okay, can you cobble together 14 points with your quarterback situation, not knowing on Friday or last week whether Sean Clifford was going to be starting? You think, okay, with the situation, can you build out 14 points with the quarterbacks you were going to play, and that they didn't trust themselves to be able to do that really really is an internal question that they have to go. Not that they haven't addressed it, but it's an internal question that they probably struggled with for the past 2 weeks.
It was one of those games where I kept thinking midway through the second quarter that if Penn State could get one more score of any kind, that would be enough. And it turned out that was true. But they never could get that score after, beyond the middle of the second quarter. And that's and it allowed Illinois to start believing they had a chance to win.
Yeah, and I think to me it was the turnover that did it for me when they got sacked Artusikowski, got the fumble, got the ball, and I thought, okay, this is that sudden change play that Penn State's going to turn into something here. They're going to turn it into some kind of points in this game, and that is going to be ugly, but they're going to squeak this one out because they're just they are better. They're a better football team. They didn't play as the better football team. I think ultimately Illinois deserved to win that game as the better football team that day in executing a game plan that they came in with effectively. But that possession to me, I thought that was going to be the one. You get the ball to 25, you're going to be able to do something with this, right? You're going to get a ball to Jahan Dotson somehow. You're going to break something. You're going to hit they're going to hit a play like they had hit earlier to Keandre Lambert-Smith. They're going to be able to do something. And not being able to do that, that was an alarming moment. And then after that, the cascade of just not being able to really do anything effectively, really just over a 2-game stretch. I went back and counted. They've had 1 touchdown in 23 regulation possessions since Sean Clifford got hurt. And to go now, they're going to go Ohio State that scored that leads. I think they lead the country in touchtouhdowns. I definitely did the Big Ten. I think they lead the country in touchdowns. That's an alarming task to take on.
Look, personnel-wise, you're not going to be able to do, you're not going to be able to come up with a different combination, whatever. It comes down to getting what you do and executing it. Yeah. Is that safe to say, in terms of the analysis of the team?
Yeah, I think so. And it's also the pressure that you're putting on the defense to execute almost at a perfect level. I mean, again, I go back 2 red zone possessions with all that yardage. So, okay, Chase Brown was phenomenal, and Josh McCray was really good in that line of the formation, and everything they did was really good to move the ball downfield on them. But Penn State's defense was, for the most part, effective in keeping them out of the end zone. They got to the end zone once until the 2-point conversion part of overtime.
Right.
And you keep asking a defense to be perfect, to execute perfectly when your offense is not executing even at an average level. That's a game and a half now that they've kind of foisted that upon the defense, and they just haven't been able to be perfect. I think they've still been really good the last 2 games. The rushing game notwithstanding.
Yeah,
not being quite as physical as they could have been, but still managing a way to get out of those situations without the points. So your offense needs to be just average. I think in that game to win, and you can't ask that of them at Ohio State.
All right, no, you're going to have to be obviously really good in a game like that. So how do you view, have you really had a chance to look at Ohio State yet? Obviously, offensively, Stroud's played great. Looks like as an offense they've played great. What's your thought on them?
They're at what? They're challenging, I think they're on a pace to beat the scoring record, that modern kind of Big Ten scoring record that Penn State's 94 offense. So they're averaging 49
right.
a game. And you can, I think, last 4 games at 50+, and you can discuss competition and what kind of defenses they faced. And I don't know, but this is going to be the best Big Ten defense that they're going to have played against so far. But even if Penn State is able to cut that in half and say, okay, that they put up 25, are you comfortable enough that Penn State can score 26 with the way their offense is functioning right now? I think the defensive matchup with Penn State's secondary is a pretty good matchup.
Yes,
against Ohio State, and I look at this with a scoring team. With a team that could kind of keep pace and score a little bit. I don't think they're going to stop Penn. I don't think they're going to stop Ohio State clearly, but I have a hard time seeing them getting to 50, even 40 necessarily against the Penn State defense playing as well as it has for the most part in keeping teams out of the end zone. I think it's 9 touchdowns that they've allowed this year. I think Georgia is the only team better in the country in allowing touchdowns. So now you've got having to do that against Ohio State, who could put up numbers in yards, but if they could keep them out of the end zone, half of what they're doing, I think you have a game. It's just circling back. It's a matter of can your offense even approach scoring in that range, scoring 25 to 30.
What can the threat of a running game mean in a game like this? I'm talking about Penn State's threat of a running game.
I think it's specifically the threat of a quarterback being able to run a little bit. The play that really struck me in that last game with Sean Clifford, he was scrambling around a little bit and slid. 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he effectively said, it looked like he's trying to avoid getting hit contact as a protective measure. That's understandable. But in that play, when he's able to move and run around and with his head still up and looking downfield, the threat not just to run, but then to throw off that run, off that scramble before he gets to the line of scrimmage, that quarterback draw that he's been effective. It keeps obviously what Illinois is able to do in those run blitzes that Penn State had, trouble handling. And then it also gives you a chance maybe that you get a play like they had with Keandre Lambert-Smith, where you got a guy checked out of Sean checked out of a play, saw the single, saw that coverage, and boom. And you can hit your big plays again. Penn State really has not been able to hit the big plays in a couple of games. They had that, and then that kind of jump ball that Jahan Dotson brought down, which I really thought, he took an interception away more than anything. That would have been a good. I think that would have been a good play just to knock that ball out of potentially being intercepted, and then he turned it into a great catch too. Yeah, the quarterback run is so evident, but at least if they had. The threads that they could stretch a running team outside, or break a couple things inside. It's going to give. To me, it's going to free Jahan Dotson. That's probably the biggest thing that I see, that he has not been able to do that the last game and a half because they don't have Sean as a threat to run, and they didn't have really Sean as a threat to kind of get the ball downfield to him either.
Okay, my friend, thank you so much for your time. I hope are you going to be in Columbus?
Will do, yes. I'm looking forward to that one.
Look forward to seeing you out there, my friend. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.